The Frankfurt deal was finally closed. 6 grueling days of negotiations, endless spreadsheets, and nights that bled into mornings. And I had secured the European expansion my boss had been chasing for 2 years. My body ached from the 9-hour flight back, but triumph pulsed through me as I steered my rental car toward my parents' suburban home. My suitcase waited in the trunk, untouched since I landed. I had promised Mom I'd stop by before heading to my apartment, knowing she'd want to hear about my trip and, more likely than not, insist on feeding me something homemade. The setting sun painted Maple Street in amber hues as I turned onto it, the familiar neighborhood wrapping around me like a faded quilt. Pulling into the driveway, I noticed Dad had finally trimmed the unruly bushes that flanked the garage, a small but surprising victory. My black pumps pinched as I stepped out, smoothing the wrinkles from my charcoal pencil skirt. My silk blouse still carried the creases of the flight. But I knew I looked every inch the senior financial analyst who had just landed a career-making deal. I smiled to myself as I dug into my purse for the garage remote. Inside was my Challenger, my pride, my proof, my dream car. I had left it here for safekeeping, tucked in my parents' garage while I traveled. The click of the button was followed by the mechanical whir of the door lifting. Relief bloomed in me until it withered. The garage yawned back at me, barren except for Dad's mower and Mom's gardening tools. My car was gone. No, 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 I whispered, the words tumbling out as my stomach dropped. My suitcase hit the concrete with a thud as I stumbled forward, staring into the empty space where my Challenger should have been. My fingers went numb. I rushed toward the side door of the house, heart pounding like a drumbeat of denial. They were waiting for me. Mom, Dad, and my younger sister Kendra sat around the oak kitchen table like a jury assembled for an intervention. The silence pressed against me before the guilt did, radiating from each of them in heavy waves. Dad stared at his calloused hands, refusing to look up. Avery, honey, Mom began, her voice sugar-coated in that tone she reserved for breaking bad news. Don't overreact. My throat burned. Where's my car? Kendra straightened, her glossy hair cascading over her shoulders. Confidence pasted on her face like makeup from one of her online tutorials. It's just temporary. Av, I'll pay it all back. Pay what back? Where is my Challenger? Mom's glance darted toward Dad. He finally spoke, his voice gravelly. We took it to Cornerstone Pawn, got $45,000 for it. The room tilted, my balance slipping away. You did what? Kendra cut in quickly. It's a loan, not a sale. Once my cosmetics line launches, I'll pay it back with interest. You'll have your car back in no time. The words hit like shards of glass. My mind flashed to the nights I had spent hunched over spreadsheets at Bridgewater Capital, working 70-hour weeks, missing vacations, choosing a cramped apartment over something better, all while saving, sacrificing. I remembered Grandpa's weathered hands guiding mine over the engine of a Challenger when I was 9, his voice steady with conviction. These machines aren't just transportation. Avery girl, they're dreams made solid. The day I finally drove my Challenger home, tears had streaked down my face. It wasn't just about the glossy black paint or the rumble of the engine. It was proof that my sacrifices meant something. And now, it was gone. Kendra flipped her hair with a practiced flick. My startup is revolutionary. I've developed a formula that... I don't care if you've discovered the fountain of youth in a bottle. I cut her off, my voice shaking with rage. That car wasn't yours to take. Mom's lips thinned. Now, Avery. Family helps family. You make good money. Kendra needs this chance. The betrayal burrowed deeper with each word. So you used my spare key, my title, You forged my name. You committed fraud. Dad flinched. Mom's tone hardened. We're your parents. We've always supported both our girls equally. A bitter laugh escaped me. Equally. That's what you call this. As if to punctuate my words. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A notification from my insurance company. A lien had just been placed against my vehicle. Ice replaced the fire in my veins. This wasn't just about money or even about the car. This was about respect. Something my family had never given me. You have 30 days, I said finally, my voice calm, deliberate. 30 days to get my car back. Or I press charges, fraud, theft, everything. Charges, Mom gasped. Against your own family. Family doesn't steal from each other. Their shocked faces blurred in my vision as I turned and walked out. The slam of the door rattled the family photos on the wall, smiles frozen in time, hiding a truth I could no longer ignore in this family. My dreams had always been disposable. At Cornerstone Pond the next morning, desperation clung to the air like the scent of cheap air freshener. I squared my shoulders, trying to look like someone in control rather than someone unraveling. The pawnbroker, Gordon, slid paperwork across the counter with professional detachment. Your vehicle was brought in 5 days ago. Loan amount $45,000, plus fees? I scanned the fine print, fury tightening my chest. $3,000 in fees. That's practically predatory. Gordon shrugged. Classic car market's volatile. We take risks. Full payment required in 35 days. $48,000 total. My eyes caught the signature on the document's my name, but not mine. The forgery was close but sloppy, missing the curve I always made at the end. This isn't my signature. His brows rose. Ma'am, if you're suggesting fraud. I'm not suggesting... I snapped, pulling out my license and a recent contract. I'm stating, compare them. Discomfort flickered across his face. I'll need to speak with my manager. 20 minutes later, the truth landed like cement. My parents had committed criminal fraud. The manager offered to file a police report immediately. The word police made my throat close. I needed time to think. Back in my apartment, I sat on the couch, numb. A family photo album trembling in my hands. Page after page revealed a lifetime of favoritism, sacrifices erased, Kendra's lavish sweet 16 party, my 16th birthday, absent from the record because I'd been working to save for college, her graduation celebrated with a limousine, mine marked by empty chairs, her Volkswagen with a red bow one Christmas, my sweater, folded neatly in a box. It wasn't just subtle favoritism. It was deliberate, consistent. My sacrifices always dismissed, my worth always overlooked. My phone rang, pulling me back. Uncle Harvey. His voice boomed through the line, already heated. Your mom called me, trying to spin it. Said you're overreacting. Avery, don't you believe a word of it. What they did was wrong. You know it. And I know it. Tears threatened as I whispered. I just never thought they'd go this far. What are you going to do? He asked. I had no answer. Uncle Harvey didn't let me sit in silence for long. Listen, kiddo. They crossed a line, and if you don't push back, they'll think they can do it again. You worked for that car. You built a career from scratch. Don't let them write you out of your own life. His words echoed long after we hung up. Sleep evaded me that night. I kept replaying the sight of the empty garage, Mom's patronizing tone, Kendra's smug smile. I thought of the Challenger's sleek, powerful, mine, and how it symbolized years of sacrifice they'd dismissed in one selfish act. By morning, anger had crystallized into resolve. I pulled out my laptop and began researching. forgery statutes, auto title theft, pawn loan laws. The deeper I dug, the clearer it became. My family hadn't just wronged me emotionally, they'd broken the law. Still, the thought of seeing my parents in handcuffs twisted my stomach. This was Mom's banana bread, Dad's Sunday football games. But this was also Kendra, laughing while she drove my car into a pawn lot. I called Gordon, the pawnbroker. If I press charges, what happens to the car? He sighed. Depends on the DA. If it's classified as fraud, the pawn loan could be voided. But court processes take time. By then, we'd have repossessed and auctioned it. My chest tightened. So either I pay the $48,000 or I gamble on the system. That's the gist. I ended the call, frustration bubbling over. I didn't have $48,000 lying around, but I had something else: proof. The signed contract in Frankfurt with my untouched signature. The pawn paperwork with the forged one. Bank records showing I'd made every payment on the car. That weekend, I went to see Uncle Harvey. He lived in a modest ranch-style home with peeling white paint, a stark contrast to my parents' meticulously landscaped property. Harvey opened the door, squinting through his glasses before pulling me into a hug. "You look like you haven't slept in a week," he said, guiding me inside. "Because I haven't." At his kitchen table, I spread out the documents like evidence in a courtroom. He studied each page carefully, his jaw tightening. "This is airtight. Avery. They committed fraud. No jury in the world would side with them. But pressing charges means," my voice faltered, "means holding them accountable." Harvey finished. "And maybe, just maybe, making them realize they can't treat you like second best forever." That night, I drafted an ultimatum. My hands shook as I typed. "You have 30 days to return the Challenger. If it isn't back in my possession by then, I will pursue criminal charges for fraud, theft, and forgery. No negotiation, no extensions." I printed 3 copies and drove to my parents' house. Their porch light was on, a soft glow against the dark street. My knuckles hovered before I knocked. Mom opened the door, her smile brittle. "Avery, honey, we were just talking about you." I handed her the envelope. 30 days. Her face paled. "You wouldn't dare." "Watch me." Behind her, Kendra rolled her eyes. "God. Av, stop being so dramatic. It's a car." "No," I snapped, my voice finally steady. "It's my car, my proof, my freedom. And this time, you don't get to take it." I walked away as Mom's voice cracked behind me, pleading. But I didn't look back. For the first time in years, I wasn't the daughter begging for scraps of approval. I was the woman demanding respect. The countdown had begun. Day 1 of the countdown came with silence. No calls, no texts, no apologies, just a gnawing unease as I watched my phone, half expecting Mom to show up at my apartment with banana bread and excuses. Instead, nothing. By day 3, Uncle Harvey called. "They're scrambling," he said. "Your mom told your aunt they're looking into personal loans, but banks won't touch them. Too much debt already." I bit my lip. "So they can't buy the car back." "Not without help. And they're hoping you'll cave." On day 5, my boss summoned me to his office. "Avery, Frankfurt was a success. We're moving you up to senior project lead." His smile was warm. "That means more hours, but also more pay." I thanked him, trying to focus, but my mind drifted to the Challenger. The raise was good, but still not enough to buy back what was mine outright. By day 10, Mom finally called. Her voice was syrupy sweet. "Honey, can't we talk about this? You know your sister just needs a little help getting started. Don't throw away family over a car." I clenched the phone so tightly my knuckles ached. "You didn't just take a car. You forged my name. You stole from me." Stop being so cold. Family makes sacrifices. I already sacrificed. For years. This time, I'm done. I hung up before she could reply. On day 15, Gordon at the pawn shop called. Your parents tried to negotiate an extension. We declined. 35 days is the max. I asked quietly. Is the car still on site? For now, but if payment isn't made, it goes to auction the morning after the deadline. The thought made me sick. My Challenger on a lot. Strangers bidding on it like it was nothing but steel and rubber. Day 20 brought a new twist, a text from Kendra. Av, please, I know you're mad, but you don't understand. My investors backed out. This cosmetics line is all I have. If you tank this deal, I'm ruined. I stared at her words, heat crawling up my neck. She hadn't apologized. Not once. This wasn't about remorse. It was about desperation. I didn't reply. Day 25. Uncle Harvey invited me over again. You need to prepare for them to let it go. They'll test you. They'll hope you blink first. I won't. My voice was steadier than I felt. Day 30 arrived like a storm cloud. Mom called 3 times. Dad once. Kendra sent a string of messages that went from pleading to insults. Selfish, heartless, all over a car. No wonder they always favored me. You're impossible to love. The words stung, but they also clarified everything. This wasn't just about a car. It was about years of erasure, years of being told I was less. On the 31st day, I walked into the police station with my folder of evidence. The officer at the desk raised an eyebrow as I spread out the documents, the forged signature, the title, the loan contract. He scanned them, then looked up. This is serious. You're pressing charges. My chest rose and fell, the weight of the moment pressing down, but my voice was steady. Yes, I am. When I stepped back into the sunlight, I felt it, the weight lifting, replaced by something new. Resolve. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the afterthought, the overlooked daughter, the disposable one. I was Avery, and I was done being stolen from. News traveled faster than I imagined. By the time I got home from the police station, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Mom left frantic voicemails. Dad's voice was low, heavy with shame. And Kendra, her messages came in all caps. You ruined my life. You're destroying your own family. Hope that car keeps you warm when you're all alone. I set the phone down, refusing to reply. 2 days later, detectives visited my parents' house. Uncle Harvey called to tell me Mom had cried so hard she collapsed on the porch. Neighbors gathering as officers walked away with evidence bags. It wasn't an arrest, Harvey clarified, but it shook them. Everyone knows now. A pit formed in my stomach. I hadn't wanted public humiliation for them. I'd only wanted accountability. The following week, I was summoned to the DA's office. A young assistant district attorney named Morales met me in a glass-walled conference room. She slid a folder across the table. Forgery and motor vehicle fraud are prosecutable offenses. Given the documentation, we could move forward with criminal charges. However, she paused. Your parents are first-time offenders. The DA's office is open to negotiating a restitution agreement. I swallowed. Meaning, full repayment of the pawn loan, all fees covered, plus the car returned. If they agree, the charges could be dropped. Relief flickered until Morales added, but if they don't comply, we pursue the case to the fullest extent. That night, Mom showed up at my apartment. She stood in the hallway clutching a Tupperware container of lasagna, eyes red from crying. Avery, we can fix this, she whispered. Don't let strangers drag our family through the mud. I didn't open the door all the way. You mean don't let the truth come out? Tears spilled down her cheeks. I only wanted to give Kendra a chance. And you stole mine. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I said quietly, "You want to fix this? Get my car back." The deadline loomed. I braced for them to fail. But on day 34, Gordon from the pawn shop called again. "Ma'am, payment's been made in full. The Challenger is ready for pickup." My knees nearly gave out. "Wait, you mean, your parents cleared the loan this morning? Cash." When I arrived, the black paint of my Challenger gleamed under fluorescent lights. My hands trembled as I traced the familiar curve of the hood. It was really back. Yet the victory felt complicated. My parents had paid, but the fracture remained. That night, Kendra called. Her voice wasn't smug this time. It was ragged. "They emptied their savings for you. Avery. Thousands they'll never get back. My business is dead. Are you happy now?" I closed my eyes. "I didn't ruin you, Kendra. You did that yourself when you stole from me." Silence stretched, thick and bitter, before she hung up. Weeks later, I drove the Challenger down Maple Street, the engine's low rumble vibrating through me. My parents stood on the porch, watching. Mom lifted a hand as if to wave, but I didn't slow down. Because this wasn't just a car, it was my boundary, my proof that I could finally say enough. And this time, I wasn't looking back. 3 months later, the Challenger sat gleaming in my apartment garage, the faint smell of leather and engine oil grounding me every time I slid behind the wheel. Work was busier than ever. My promotion had put me in charge of 2 major accounts. But for the first time, I felt balanced, stronger. Family, though, was another story. Mom called occasionally, her voice always tentative. "I made your favorite soup today. I could drop some off." Sometimes I said yes, sometimes no. When she came, she never mentioned the car, never mentioned Kendra. But the shadow of it hung over every spoonful of soup, every awkward hug at the door. Dad stayed quiet. He sent one text on my birthday, "Proud of you. Be safe," and nothing more. It hurt less than I expected. Maybe because I no longer craved his approval like oxygen. Kendra, she went dark. No calls, no texts. But her name popped up online. Her luxury cosmetics launch had fizzled. Angry customers posted photos of cheap packaging, broken promises. Lawsuits were mentioned in comment threads. I scrolled through them one night, heart pounding, then shut my laptop. It wasn't my mess to fix. Uncle Harvey checked in often. "You holding steady?" "Kiddo," he asked one evening over the phone. "Better than steady," I admitted. "I feel free." And I did. Free from the constant hunger for recognition. Free from sacrificing while someone else reaped the reward. Free from believing family loyalty meant being their doormat. One crisp autumn morning, I drove the Challenger out of the city, windows down, the wind tangling my hair. At a stoplight, I caught my reflection in the side mirror, not the weary daughter begging to be seen, but a woman who had fought for herself, and won. The past still hurt. The betrayal would never fully vanish. But as the engine roared to life and the open road stretched before me, I knew one thing for certain. They had taken my car, I had taken back my power, and no one, family or not, would ever steal that from me again.